The morning was ordinary. Families returning from Caribbean vacations, business travelers, nursing hangovers, a mother with twin boys in row 12, an off-duty pilot hitching a ride home in seat 3A. Captain Daniel Hendricks had logged 14,000 hours. His first officer, Ramirez, was 31, sharp, by the book. They lifted off at 9:47 a.m. Local time, right on schedule. 40 minutes into the flight, cruising at 37,000 feet over open ocean, the plane encountered a band of turbulence. Nothing unusual. Passengers were told to fasten their seatbelts. In the cockpit, Hendricks and Ramirez noticed something odd. The turbulence had been brief, but immediately afterward, the radio went silent. Not static, not interference, complete absence of signal. They tried alternate frequencies. Nothing. Hendricks wasn't alarmed yet. Equipment failures happen. They flew on instruments, following the programmed route. The sky was clear. Fuel burn was normal. Every gauge read exactly as it should. In the cabin, passengers noticed nothing. The flight was smooth. Movies played. Drinks were served. A baby slept in row 19. The man in 8C finished his paperback. Then, 4 hours and 52 minutes into the flight, the coastline appeared. Long Island. The familiar approach to JFK. Hendricks began the descent. 2 F-16 interceptors, one off each wingtip, close enough to see the pilots' helmets. Hendricks' heart kicked. His first officer went pale. Military intercepts mean one thing: you are a threat. Hijacking. Transponder failure. The cabin crew opened the doors. Federal agents boarded, weapons drawn. Passengers were ordered to remain seated, hands visible. Confusion turned to panic. Children cried. Captain Hendricks was pulled from the cockpit and placed in restraints. He shouted that it was a communications failure, nothing more. For 1,826 days, the world believed Flight 828 and everyone aboard had simply ceased to exist. Inside the terminal, the date on every screen read November 4th, 2018. 5 years, 6 months, and 25 days since Flight 828 had departed Jamaica. Because here is what the world knew. On April 10th, 2013, Flight 828 had vanished from radar 37 minutes after takeoff. No mayday, no debris field, no black box signal. Within 72 hours, the search was called off. The families were told to prepare for the worst. Memorial services were held. 191 names were read aloud. Empty caskets were buried. Except they weren't. They had been in the air, flying through calm skies, drinking ginger ale and watching in-flight movies. The medical exams began within the hour. Blood work, CT scans, neurological tests. The passengers were quarantined in a secured hangar at JFK, cut off from all outside contact. Doctors found no radiation. A flight attendant named Grace Chen was 32 when she boarded the plane. She was still 32 when she stepped off. But her daughter, left behind at age 7, was now 12. The twins in row 12, Ben and Cal Stone, were 10 years old. Their parents had stayed behind in Jamaica, letting the boys fly home with their aunt. The government's position was immediate and absolute. No information leaves this hangar. No media, no phone calls, no reunions until we understand what happened. Behind closed doors, the theories multiplied. A wormhole, a tear in space-time, extraterrestrial abduction, a classified military experiment gone wrong. On the 6th day of quarantine, a passenger named Thomas Vale suffered a heart attack. He was rushed to a secure wing of a Manhattan hospital. Within 4 hours, the story leaked. April 2013. Flight 828 departs Jamaica April 2013. Plane vanishes from all radar November 2018. Flight 828 lands at JFK, 5 years later. Within 12 hours, it was the only story on Earth. Flight 828, the ghost plane, the impossible return. News helicopters circled JFK. Crowds gathered outside the perimeter fences. The passengers were moved under armed convoy to a classified facility upstate. Still no contact with their families. Still no answers. But now the whole world was watching. Because some of the passengers had started hearing voices. Not hallucinations. Not delusions. A voice, clear and urgent, speaking single words or short commands inside their heads. She slammed the brake pedal. Her car screeched to a halt 3 feet from a stroller that had rolled into the street. A mother screamed, snatched her baby back. A man heard gate 23 while standing in an airport, walked there without knowing why, and found his sister, who'd been declared missing for 4 years. She was boarding a flight. The NSA now had a classification for it. Internal memos called them predictive auditory events. The passengers called them callings, and the pattern was undeniable. The voice always preceded the event. By October of 2018, 11 passengers had experienced callings. By December, 19. The government assigned a psychiatrist to interview them, Dr. Sanvi Bal. She was also a passenger. The lab. That was all. 2 words. She was at home. She drove to the hospital where she worked, went to her research lab, found smoke pouring from a storage room. The callings weren't random. They were instructions, a system, an intelligence, using the passengers as instruments to alter outcomes, to prevent deaths, to reunite families, to intervene in moments that would otherwise go wrong. Then a passenger named Thomas started hearing a calling that didn't make sense. Find her, find her, find her. For 6 days, repeating. No context, no name. He knew her face. Not from life. From a dream he'd had the night before. He'd seen her standing in a basement, hands tied, crying. He called the NYPD tip line, described the basement. Inside the cabin, 5.5 hours. Outside the fuselage, 5 years had rewritten the world. Now the callings weren't just voices. They were visions, flashes of future events, playing out in the passengers' minds like previews of a film not yet shot. And the visions were always accurate. The NSA moved the investigation to a classified facility in Virginia. They built a sterile wing, brought in neurologists, physicists, intelligence analysts. They ran MRI scans during callings. The scans showed something impossible. One theory proposed quantum entanglement, that the passengers' consciousnesses had become linked to future states of reality during the 5-year gap, that they were somehow receiving information backward through time. Both theories had a problem. They required physics that didn't exist, particles that had never been observed, forces with no mathematical foundation. The passengers weren't exhibiting a known phenomenon. And then, in January of 2019, a passenger died. His name was Kelly, 41 years old. He'd been hearing callings for 2 months. On January 8th, he collapsed in his apartment. His brain tissue showed scarring in the hippocampus and temporal lobe, the same regions that lit up during callings. The scarring was fresh, formed within the last 60 days. The NSA ordered immediate scans of all passengers. 91 came in for testing. 42 showed early-stage scarring. All 42 had experienced callings. The passengers who'd never heard the voice had normal brain tissue. A neurologist named Dr. Vance proposed a mechanism. He believed the callings were a form of forced neural plasticity. If Vance was right, the callings would eventually kill them. The more visions a passenger experienced, the faster the scarring progressed, and there was no way to stop it. The callings weren't voluntary. In March of 2019, the NSA intercepted a communication. A private server in Geneva had sent an encrypted file to an address in Moscow. Within 1 month of landing, 11 passengers reported hearing the voices. The NSA launched a counterintelligence operation. They traced the Moscow address to a front company linked to Russian military intelligence. The Geneva server belonged to a biotech firm with contracts in neural interface research. They failed. Every test subject exposed to the prototype experienced seizures, psychosis, or death. The technology required something the flight had provided and no lab could replicate. On April 2nd, 2019, 3 passengers vanished. 2 in New York, 1 in Los Angeles. No signs of struggle, no witnesses. One of the missing passengers was found 6 days later, wandering a highway in Nevada. No memory of the abduction, no injuries. The other 2 passengers were never found, and the callings, which had been occurring 2 or 3 times a week across the passenger group, suddenly spiked. Flight 828. Falling through the sky in flames. Every passenger who experienced the calling described identical details: the airline logo on the tail, the angle of descent, The NSA had been monitoring passenger communications since the day they landed. Within 6 hours of the mass calling event, 3 black SUVs arrived at the home of passenger Bethany Collins in Queens. Project Eureka. That was the classified designation NSA assigned to Flight 828. Leaked documents revealed the agency believed the callings were evidence of what they termed a temporal breach. Dr. Arya Gupta had been the lead physicist assigned to Eureka. In a phone call intercepted by a journalist, she described the passenger blood work. Every sample showed cellular markers inconsistent with standard aging. The callings themselves followed a pattern. Passengers reported a sudden drop in temperature, a ringing in the ears, then the vision. Always visual, always urgent, and always, without exception, connected to preventing a death. Always single words or short phrases preceded real events by minutes to hours. Only Flight 828 passengers heard them. But the June 2nd vision was different. It was not a warning they could act on. It was a premonition of their own deaths. The plane in the calling was Flight 828 itself. On May 21st, passenger forums went dark. The NSA had been allowing monitored communication, but now every encrypted channel the survivors used was simultaneously shut down. Text messages bounced. Emails failed. A faction within the passenger group began to believe the callings were not random, that they were being guided. Wang's analysis revealed that the time gaps between mass calling events were decreasing at a predictable rate. 42 days between the first and second events. 28 days between the second and third. 2 days later, Huang disappeared. His apartment in Brooklyn was found empty, door unlocked, coffee still warm on the counter. His laptop was gone. His research wiped. The theory that gained traction among the remaining passengers was this: they had not disappeared for 5 years. They had died. It explained why their families had aged, why the world had moved on, why their blood showed cellular stasis. They were not survivors of an anomaly. They were reconstructions. On May 28th, 11 passengers met in a church basement in the Bronx. They had decided to go public, to hold a press conference and reveal everything: the callings, the government surveillance, the disappearances. At 1:58 p.m. on May 30th, 2 minutes before the conference was set to begin, every passenger in that church basement experienced a calling simultaneously. They saw the room they were standing in. They ran. All 11 made it out with seconds to spare. The basement erupted 30 seconds later. A gas leak, officials said. A faulty valve in the boiler system. Every calling that passengers followed proved accurate, yet no scientist could explain how. June 1st, 2019, 24 hours before the date in the vision, 167 passengers remained accounted for. Some had gone into hiding. At 9 a.m. that morning, a passenger named Evelyn Cross walked into a police station in Newark. She told the officers on duty that she was about to die. What Evelyn did not tell the police was what she had seen in a private calling 3 days earlier. A vision unique to her. She had seen the interior of an NSA facility. By noon on June 1st, every news network had picked up the same story. A rumor circulating online about a doomed flight from 5 years ago, about passengers who had not aged. But the statement contained an error, a small one. The NSA denial referenced Flight 828 by number, confirming the designation existed in their records. At 6 p.m., a passenger in Denver received a calling. She saw a man in a suit standing in front of a whiteboard covered in equations. He turned to face her. 23 other passengers reported the same calling within the hour. Always the same man. Always the same whiteboard. Always the same 3 words. No one recognized him. At 10 p.m., 1 hour and 23 minutes before the prophesied moment, the NSA moved. Black vans appeared simultaneously outside the homes of 86 known passengers across 14 states. No warrants, no explanation. Quietly, others resisted. In Los Angeles, a passenger barricaded himself in his bathroom and live-streamed the extraction. The feed cut after 47 seconds. Grace Haverford was not among them. She had vanished 3 days earlier, leaving her apartment keys on the kitchen counter and her phone powered off in a trash bin 2 miles away. The detained passengers sat in a converted gymnasium, metal chairs arranged in rows, armed guards at every exit. In just 72 hours, 40 passengers saw the same vision simultaneously. 11:23 p.m. approached. Some passengers prayed. Others stared at the clock mounted on the gymnasium wall, its second hand sweeping toward the prophesied moment. 11:23 became 11:24. Nothing happened. No light, no hum, no tremor. The gymnasium remained a gymnasium. The passengers remained passengers. The guards remained at their posts. But the incident was not over. 6 passengers reported hearing the hum again within 72 hours, each in different cities, each alone. When paramedics arrived, she was catatonic. Pulse elevated to 160 beats per minute, pupils fully dilated. She remained in that state for 9 hours. The NSA investigation concluded in March of 2016. The final report was classified above top secret and stored in a facility that does not officially exist. Theories multiplied. A physicist at CERN proposed the plane had intersected a closed time-like curve, a loop in space-time where cause and effect fold into themselves. The math worked. The evidence did not. A team in Tokyo suggested the plane had entered a region of space where the flow of time dilates differently, a localized bubble moving through our universe like a current in water. Every model failed the same test, the passengers. If the plane had moved through folded time, their cells should show evidence. Telomeres should be shortened or lengthened, which left the unthinkable. They had not traveled through time. Time had traveled around them. Passenger contact networks fractured. Some formed support groups. Others refused all communication, changed their names, disappeared into new lives. A few went public. They were interviewed, tested, filmed. April 2019. First passenger death predicted by calling May 2019. Mass vision event affects 40 passengers June 2019. Government initiates Project Eureka July 2019. 3 passengers vanish without trace. Flight 828 itself was decommissioned. The aircraft was flown to a secure hangar in Nevada and disassembled bolt by bolt. Every component was scanned, tested, cataloged. One engineer reported an anomaly. In the cockpit, behind the instrument panel, he found a handwritten note tucked into a gap in the wiring. The captain denied writing it. Forensic analysis confirmed it was his pen, his hand, his paper. But he had no memory of it. In the years since, 3 more passengers have vanished without trace. No bodies, no evidence of foul play. They simply stopped existing in the recordable world. Families filed missing person reports. Investigators found nothing. Grace Haverford resurfaced once. In 2018, a woman matching her description was filmed at a rural gas station in Montana, purchasing a map and bottled water. The timestamp showed 2:13 a.m. The airline ceased operations in 2017, filing for bankruptcy under the weight of lawsuits, lost revenue, and the unanswerable question that destroyed passenger confidence. The final flight carried 11 people. The passengers who remain are older now, grayer, quieter. They do not speak of the incident unless pressed. Some have children who were infants when they left and teenagers when they returned. On every anniversary of the landing, a handful gather at a diner near the airport. They do not talk about what happened. They talk about weather, sports, the ordinary. Flight 828 proved that our understanding of time is incomplete, that the universe contains pockets, folds, gaps where the rules we trust simply do not apply. And somewhere, in the space between seconds, the answer waits. Not in equations or instruments or government files, but in the gap itself, in the place the passengers went.